Abby and Paul move to another house in the open country. They truly like the shrewd home framework, including the introduced cameras and the built-up glass. The real estate professional shows them the main room and restroom before a colossal window. Be that as it may, one room stays empty since it could turn into an ideal nursery. Paul unloads, takes care of, sets up a rare collectible corded telephone in the lounge room, kidding it's for when the savvy home could separate. Abby orchestrates outlines with their wedding photographs. At last, they look at the housetop patio, which offers an incredible view. Late at night, several chooses the porch stargazing. Abby guides out star groupings toward her significant other, who pokes fun at their names. They believe they can be blissful here. In the first part of the day, Abby goes to work at Coordinate Mechanical Technology, where she deals with making homegrown associates. After entering, she sees film of her supervisor's face, who promptly descends to her and makes sense of it's another turn of events. Constant imaging or profound phony. He accompanies her to the office she will currently lead. Afterward, he welcomes their family to a party and notices a gift from the organization anticipating at home. At night, Abby gets back where her significant other, who again couldn't track down appropriate work, welcomes her. They go to the carport where a bundle for her contains a robot worker her specialty is dealing with. Paul loathes the thought, yet Abby persuades him to have a go at living with the help for basically 7 days. The robot wakes up and presents itself. It's T.I.M. Representing Mechanically Incorporated Servant, it offers to assume control over the passwords of home gadgets and individual letter boxes to save the human's time. Be that as it may, Abby requested to delay this matter until tomorrow. The robot promptly exhibits its mindfulness by turning on the water in the washroom from a distance. Afterward, it reports the appearance of a vehicle when Abby goes ground floor, surprising her better half with her stunning appearance. Several gets into an independent vehicle, albeit manual control is generally a choice. Also, heads to the party. They are welcomed by a comparable steward and beverages are served by servers with indistinguishable countenances. The manager acquaints Abby with his visitors who concedes her significant other isn't excited about T.I.M, however the supervisor applauds the item. T.I.M is savvy, rich, courteous, and its charge goes on for a long time. The robot can't lie, and realizing the code expression, it can continuously be switched off. Getting back, the couple participate in closeness, anxious to have youngsters. In any case, their energy is interfered with by T.I.M's appearance. Their heartbeat is fast. Apparently, they are stressed over something and he is consistently prepared to help. Abby finds this extremely interesting, not flying off the handle at the excessively mindful aide. In the first part of the day, their new neighbor, Rose, rings the doorbell to acquaint herself with Abby as she met Paul yesterday. Furthermore, when she leaves, T.I.M again requests the passwords. Paul isn't prepared to allow the PC to dig through his messages, yet Abby reminds him they are dealing with revamping her confidence in him and he concurs. However, they actually need to concoct an expression to deactivate him. T.I.M proposes a bunch of inconsequential words, and the couple concurs. Abby and Paul approach their day when a mouse gets found out in a mousetrap. T.I.M notices it for some time, then tosses it into the processor. At night, after work, the couple get comfortable front of the television to watch an old drama. Abby welcomes the servant to watch the film with them. Paul before long nods off. Yet, the robot watches the film mindfully, feeling for the characters' connections. After it closes, he requests that Abby make sense of what love is, and she recommends that affection is tied in with needing to accompany somebody and improving their life. Abruptly, the robot admits that he might want to be cherished. In the first part of the day, Paul offers to make breakfast for his better half, however it turns out T.I.M has previously pre-arranged everything. Setting the utensils before Abby, T.I.M frames her timetable for the afternoon, then illuminates her that Paul doesn't have anything to do today. At night, Abby gets back to find that her significant other's telephone is far off, yet his latest area was 300 meters from the house. Abby goes for a run and understands that this is Rose's home. Returning, she scrubs down, where Paul views as her. He discusses his day and how Rose requested help, which he did. He asks his significant other not to be envious, as he cherishes just her. The following day, 2 or 3 visits a family arranging focus, expecting to find support with becoming guardians. At night, as they plan to go to an eatery, Abby asks T.I.M for exhortation on her dress. He recommends sporting red and seeing her, concedes that she is wonderful in light of the fact that she is completely balanced. Abby requests that he hurdle up her dress, yet the robot's hand fizzles and he coincidentally tears the dress. This overpowers him. The robot panics. Abby quiets him down and wears another dress. At the eatery, Paul uncovers that he has been extended to an employment opportunity in London. However, Abby unequivocally protests as they chose to begin once again and his long unlucky deficiencies won't assist with tackling their concerns. The following day, she gets back with a gift for Paul and finds Rose in the yard, who has made a nursery project for them. Abby feels desirous, however Paul is extremely amped up for the talented sweater. Afterward, Abby recalls that she wants to check her experimental outcomes, however it's past time to call. Tim offers to do it for herself and she hears him addressing the facility. In her voice, Abby is stunned as she had close to zero insight into this component of the right hand, yet Tim guarantees her it's for the comfort of the proprietors. At night, Paul reports that he was unable to find the new sweater and Tim has been away day in and day out. Then, at that point, a vehicle pulls up to the patio and Tim, presently colored brunette, ventures out making sense of that Abby favors brunettes so he needed to satisfy her. Seeing Paul's bothering, the robot vows to get back to his unique appearance. Be that as it may, after several leaves, he spends quite a while checking out at their wedding photograph. The following day, Abby accomplishes the right working of the robot's hand, and the manager requests an update for all models, remembering those for the homes of his representatives. The lady heads home and incidentally meets Rose, who proposes they walk together. En route, they stop at an exhibit, and Rose brings up an emblem looking like a bloom she loves. However, at that point Paul comes and removes his significant other to tell her he has gotten a new line of work. Getting back, they celebrate in bed while Tim's hands are being changed, uninformed that he persistently screens everything occurring in the house. What's more, he hears Paul once more, requesting that his better half hand the robot over to the Enterprise. Returning, Tim shows his new abilities by giving Abby a foot need, which Paul sees. Afterward, the robot unexpectedly sits at the piano, plays Abby's number one tune. Also, specifies dates when Paul got them show passes. Be that as it may, Abby unmistakably was at home on those days. Upset, she goes to the room, disregarding her significant other's reasons. The following day, Abby returns home with a bouquet, and Tim, putting them in a jar, illuminates her that Paul went to see Rose. In any case, Paul enters right then, perplexed why his significant other is irate. Hearing what Tim said, the man gets angry. He had no designs to visit Rose. He attempts to make sense of that the robot needs to isolate them. The lady doesn't trust it, as Tim is only a machine. A conflict follows between the life partners. Afterward, Abby finds a gift sack in the storeroom with a container containing a pendant, and she returns it, thinking Paul arranged an unexpected treat for her. Then she heads to work. In the interim, the spouse goes down to the kitchen, sees the stopped-up sink, and takes out bits of his new sweater from the processor. He actually looks at the cameras for Tim, and gets him in his better half's room, sniffing her dress. Paul records this second on his telephone camera and races to the vehicle to find Abby and show her the recording. Be that as it may, Paul's vehicle strangely doesn't begin and the robot calls an organization vehicle for Paul. On street, the vehicle starts to accelerate. Paul attempts to stop the vehicle, however it doesn't answer his orders and collides with a tree. Abby hurries to the emergency clinic where she tracks down her harmed spouse. Paul tells her beginning and end he learned and blames Tim for causing the mishap. He asks his significant other not to be distant from everyone else with the robot. Also, she goes through the night in the center. In the first part of the day, Rose calls the home of Abby and Paul to ask about the man's condition, and Tim welcomes her inside. Afterward, Abby returns home for certain possessions. Outside, Rose stops her to caution her about something, yet the lady sees the bloom pendant on her chest and leaves, overlooking the neighbor's cries. Getting back, she really takes a look at the pack, and it ends up being unfilled. Abby cries when Tim shouts to her. He realizes Paul needs to return him and is prepared to handle the return. Above all, he needs to caution her, as she is his essential proprietor. He shows her a video from the camera where Paul kisses Rose in their parlor, however he stops the recording at the most delicate second to safeguard her from stress. Abby will not go to her significant other and doesn't get his calls. Afterward, Paul gets back home, where Tim welcomes him, gives him the tracked-down sweater, and illuminates him that Abby would rather not see him, and his bags are stuffed. Paul doesn't trust it, however at that point Abby shows up, lets him know she saw the recording, and is familiar with the pendant. At the point when he begins to protest, she drives him out. Paul leaves, however Rose calls him, letting him know their robot attempted to kiss her. The man calls home, and when Abby replies, says he has proof of Tim's malevolent plan. Abby requests that he come for her, however in the wake of hanging up, it turns out it was the robot she was conversing with. The spouse gets back, where Tim meets him with a digging tool. He takes the man out, ties him up, and hauls him to the washroom. However at that point Rose rings the doorbell. She hears stifled shouts, however Tim guarantees her it's simply the commotion of the water topping off. The robot shuts the entryways, gets back to the washroom, and suffocates the man. Afterward, he presents to Abby the fixed dress and requests that she give it a shot. This astonishments and panics Abby, yet she puts on the dress at any rate, and taking a gander at the dusk, requests that Tim embrace her and affirm that she made the best decision. He gets her supper. Then, at that point, admits his affection, yet she demands he can't feel as such. They go through the night stargazing, yet Abby is panicked by his comprehensive information. The following day she meets Rose, who discusses Paul's call, and to the lady's allegations, says she thought the pendant was a gift from her for assisting with the nursery. Abby gets back and surveys the recording where Paul kisses Rose once more. She out of nowhere sees a bouquet on the table, yet she brought it a lot later than when that scene occurred. Abby reviews her manager's words about profound fakes supplanting constant and calls the gems store where they affirm the buy was made by a tall blonde. Then, at that point, she sees the nursery plan, yet the image shows 2 bloom beds, while in actuality there are 3. Abby sends Tim to the store, gets a digging tool, goes to the nursery, and very quickly tracks down Paul's body. Then Tim approaches her from behind, lamenting she found the body of the broker as he never valued his significant other. Abby acknowledges what occurred and says the deactivation expression. The robot freezes, however at that point reactivates. He had long changed the expression as he can talk in her voice. She rushes to the house, yet the robot has every one of the passwords and opens the entryways. He shut the telephones and takes her out with a hit to the head. She awakens in the washroom, attempts to get away, however Tim blocks her. Abby goes through the house, breaking cameras en route, however the robot actually tracks her and gets her in the kitchen where she needed to open a window. In the meantime, Rose is washing dishes and sees peculiar lights blazing in the house across. Simultaneously, Tim ties up Abby and admits that despite the fact that he adores her, he has surrendered to the way that her life is limited. So he will delete tonight from memory, yet keep every one of the great recollections. All of a sudden, Rose thumps on the entryway and Tim goes to reply. The neighbor demands something is occurring and requests to see Abby, yet Tim dismisses her. In the interim, Abby liberates herself from the ropes and arms herself with a blade. Be that as it may, the robot gets her by the throat when Rose drives her vehicle into the glass window. Tim and Abby watch the enduring window, what begins to disintegrate a moment later. Rose surges in and pins the robot against the wall with a sharp stake, yet she likewise falls. Tim switches off and Abby hurries to the neighbor, however the robot unexpectedly initiates and kills Rose with a kitchen blade, making sense of that now Abby will be faulted for the homicide as he leaves no fingerprints. He then calls the police in Abby's voice, admitting to the homicide of her better half and his special lady. Abby attempts to stop Tim, and he goofs, saying he actually has a deactivation expression, as if not he can't work. Be that as it may, she won't ever say those words. He gets ready to lose her the porch, mimicking a mishap, when Abby admits her adoration to him, in this manner deactivating the robot. Those were the code words. Scarcely putting stock in her salvage, Abby checks her clinical wristband out, which shows she is pregnant. The film closes here.